This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is an online learning community bursting with classes for the creative mind. Whether you're unsure if education after high school is the right decision for you, or maybe you have finished school and you think you can get more out of that brain of yours, or maybe you're just bored, Skillshare has the means to supply you with more knowledge along with fellow like-minded creatives, all from the safety of your home, which is, kind of important, especially as we're heading towards the end of this year. Continuing on with our courses, this time I'm going to recommend Digital Illustration for All, Discover, Cultivate, and Share Your Unique Personal Style by Lacey Jordan. Developing your skills as an artist is a long road, and I don't think it's right to say there's only a certain way of doing that. But with a class like Lacey's, you can try and find inspiration that can help you start defining your personal style. This class focuses on digital illustration, but I also think that applies to traditional art as well, if you ask me. And then, as you keep working on it, what might have started as a simple trace job slowly transforms into something that's uniquely yours. From that point, it's all a matter of refining it and eventually branching out. And if it's not illustrations or something like that, there's courses for web development, essential tools in writing stories, animation, that's something I know a thing or two about. And maybe after this, you can too. Skillshare is giving away a free trial of their premium membership to the first 1,000 people who can click the link in the description below to help you explore your creativity. And after that, it's only about $10 a month. Much love to Skillshare for the sponsorship, and thank you for helping support this channel. And now on with the show. Okay, so what we have here is a game I'm reviewing out of morbid curiosity. Last weekend, at the time of this video going up anyway, I got to experience Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures for the first time on the Super Nintendo. It was for Pac-Man Fever, the 24-hour charity event we do every year. And again, thanks a bunch for helping us raise over $11,000, much love to you all. But I was not loving this, and I was utterly baffled.
Look at the flowers! Don't you love your wife? Why is he so depressed? Like, seriously, the flowers are right here!
Wait, you got it! You got the flower!
I didn't press anything!
Yeah, see, the game is depressing, so you're pressing, that's wrong. You're playing the whole thing wrong. You're not supposed to be pressing, you're supposed to be depressing.
I didn't finish the game for the event. I think I got to the third mission before I decided to call it quits. We had to get a move on, but seeing as my friend Ben did lend me a physical copy of the game for me to experience, you know what? We're actually going to spend today finishing this game and seeing where else this experiment takes us to. First off, the name made no sense to me. There's been a lot of Pac-Man games between Pac-Man's original release in 1980 and this game's release in 1994. That's 14 years of game, so why the hell was this one given the numerical stamp? And then it turns out this was only a thing in the North American release. In Japan, it's known as Hello Pac-Man, got the dude there looking jovial, getting ready for a leisure hang gliding session, where in the American cover, he's having a fucking panic attack. Well, that's certainly a different spin to what I'm used to. Normally, American covers have this thing of making the character seem edgier or tougher, but with Pac-Man, it's... I don't really know how to describe the plot of this game. Well, okay, there really isn't one. It's like a string of super short serializations you'd see in a Pac-Man cartoon. In fact, I think this game takes cues from that early 80s Pac-Man cartoon produced by Hanna-Barbera. Yeah, there was Pac-Man, he had a wife and kid, there was a wizard who wanted power pellets, maybe they were medicinal, and he commanded the ghost to give Pac-Man trouble. In this game, Pac-Man has a family, he's got a wife, Miss Pac-Man, he's got 2 kids, so this is a Pac-Man who fucks. His house rocks the same fedora his cartoon counterpart had in the show. There's also an evil witch, and she commands the ghost to give Pac-Man trouble. So yeah, it's a Pac-Man television show that you play. I'm even reminded of Looney Tunes. The circle around the characters as they're being introduced gave me those vibes. Such an odd choice for a structure, especially after, 10 years after the show went off the air? The Japanese name Hello Pac-Man kind of reminds me of Hey You Pikachu, and in some way the games are sort of similar. Instead of scrambling through mazes, munching balls, eating fruit, and avoiding ghosts, this right here is a game where you guide and influence Pac-Man's actions to complete missions or to simply help him go about his merry way. Or you can endlessly piss on the poor fuck's day. You're not using a microphone, of course, but you got this slingshot, and while you can use it to pelt the yellow guy directly in the face to get him to move, you're using it more often on the environment to cause things to happen. You never directly control Pac-Man at all, you're just using that slingshot to get shit to happen. That's the short and sweet explanation. The game is broken up into 4 separate missions, not counting the short tutorial in the beginning, and they all involve Pac-Man doing everyday stuff and stopping the ghosts from being shitheads for a few minutes. I guess we should break it down mission by mission, so shall we? Mission 1 is nothing special. Even after the game establishes how things work, this level is pretty brain dead. Your baby needs some milk, and because I'm not seeing a refrigerator anywhere here, and because I don't think Miss Pac-Man has the anatomy to properly breastfeed, it's up to Pac-Man to get that shit fresh from the cow's teat, completely unpasteurized. But that's not really a big deal. These are the same folks who will eat a hot dog off the floor in a fucking cityscape. Also want to give Pac-Man bonus points for being a father who goes out to get the milk and actually comes back. For as much shit as I'm going to get into later, Pac-Man is at least a good father. Anyway, like I said, pretty easy mission. You just head right, get Pac-Man to notice the bottle on the top of the sign because I guess he doesn't have spare bottles in his house, and then you get that bottle by provoking this bird, getting him to maul Pac-Man, which then drops the bottle, and now that cow's looking awfully good for the squeezing. Pac-Man really likes that shit too. Well, we all have our kinks. This game has a bizarre fascination with torturing Pac-Man. Like, I don't know if he was in hot water with a Namco producer, maybe he owes someone money, but a good chunk of solving puzzles or getting items you need requires that Pac-Man get hurt or causes anxiety to skyrocket. You could say the game has a sort of macabre appeal, if you're into that sort of thing. Most of the time I feel like, to mention Looney Tunes again, I'm in that episode where Bugs Bunny spends the entire short fucking with Daffy Duck. I don't think I've ever played a game where I fucked with a farmer as many times as I have in Pac-Man 2. Every time I'm causing that haystack to fall on the poor dude, and haystacks are heavy, man, you know that's an instant concussion, but I gotta do it otherwise Pac-Man can't cross because, I don't know, maybe the dude's racist. There are certain things you need to strike with the slingshot so that Pac-Man can get by. Every other time you have to get Pac-Man to notice things himself by calling out to different directions. Without doing that, Pac-Man is bound to do some stupid shit like trip on rocks, lose control on a skateboard and slam into walls, or it could be a shopping cart. That's something that can happen. This is the most maddening hurdle for me to accept as someone who would rather be 100% in direct control of the character. That ain't the case in this game. You are just fucking with the environment and screaming at Pac-Man in hopes of proceeding through the game. And a lot of times it just feels like it doesn't work. Every screen is like a Rube Goldberg machine where even the most innocuous thing can set off a chain of events that'll either prolong your stay more than you want it to, or it'll eventually get Pac-Man killed. Okay, he doesn't really die, he just gets knocked out. The screen then closes in on him. That's all, folks. There are even some occasions that can cause a reset for very silly reasons, like running into this hot dog stand or smacking the vendor with the slingshot. He responds by squirting ketchup on Pac-Man, and that's it, life lost, reset the screen. But I'm like, dude, just wipe your face and go about your business. Why is that a reset? But stuff like that isn't the most annoying thing, it's Pac-Man himself, more specifically his mood. Pac-Man's current mood is a gameplay element in this for some godforsaken reason I will never understand. Causing certain things to happen can either make Pac-Man happy or bum him the fuck out, and I mean, my god, he is just teetering on the edge there, he looks so depressed. You want to make sure, for the most part, that Pac-Man is in a good mood, or at least a good enough mood, because if he isn't, he is nearly impossible to work with because the man doesn't want to do shit or is so goddamn slow to take notice on certain things, if he notices them at all. But it can be a real Morton's fork either way because he's either too depressed to get things done properly, or he's too angry and won't listen to commands period, or he's too happy and wants to stop to look at everything. Oh my god, I just want to get a move on. Stop with the fucking vending machine! It's always gonna eat your money! It's broken, Pac-Man! That's what broken vending machines do! Now, under the right circumstances, being in a better mood does make certain screens much easier and faster. I feel that's more important. Like this rooftop section here in the city. In a less than desirable mood, Pac-Man will hesitate to jump across rooftops, and I can't blame him. Who will be comfortable in this sort of situation? But you know, dude, you got up here, we have to get down, so something's gotta give. My first time here, my mood was so shot, like I'm talking Great Depression era, that Pac-Man just refused to jump, and he wouldn't acknowledge the hook that would zip him across. This kind of shit can easily make you think that you got a dead game, because you need to improve his mood to get him to do stuff, but there's nothing here that'll make him happy, so what do? But then, as he's thinking of making a jump, I think that's what's happening here anyway, I smack him with the slingshot to get him to stop prematurely. He jumps up and lands before the ledge, but then he's suddenly happy that I did that? There's a lot to unpack there. Okay, so what is he happy about? That he didn't jump or that I stopped him from making a grave mistake? Holy shit, I talked Pac-Man out of killing himself and he's in a better mood for it. And now he can get across the rooftops just fine. I mean, you're welcome? But if you got him in a good mood beforehand, shit, he jumps across the rooftops like a showboating little shit. Look at him go. Again, being in a good mood is preferred, but not always ideal, because at this point, Pac-Man can be a cocky douche that gives other people shit for no fucking reason. Like here, this dude's just painting this sign, but Pac-Man decides,
I'm going to paint his town red.
And then he starts fucking with the dude. Granted, Pac-Man gets his just desserts, but why does he get like this? Also, let's get a fucking move on, Pac-Man! The fuck are you walking like that for? You're not in control here, fucker! I am! And stop with the goddamn vending machine! Right, didn't I say I was gonna do this mission by mission? Well, the thing is that despite what you may run into, Pac-Man 2 is not an awfully long game. Barely over 2 hours if you have an idea of how to proceed, even shorter if you have a guide. But a guide can only help so much with some of the special flavors some of these missions have. Mission 2, you gotta get a flower for this little girl Lucy. It's her birthday, but only flowers high above in the mountains will do because I guess Lucy is a picky fuck and all the general stores in the area are closed. So Pac-Man has to climb out to get that flower, and this requires taking the hang glider. You press the call button to make him go higher, but to get him to lower, you have to smack him with the slingshot, which, why? If we can just tell him to go higher, why can't we just tell him to go lower? I don't get it. This section isn't terrible, but you just barely skim past these trees to make it through. And if you fuck up, you gotta do the whole section over again. This game doesn't really have what you call checkpoints. I just don't see the need for this because the game has Super Pac-Man here. Whenever you give Pac-Man a power pellet, whether you're being attacked by ghosts or just to improve his mood, you temporarily transform into Pac-Man with anchor arms. He's completely invulnerable, he munches on ghosts like no deal, and he zips across the screen lickety-split. So enough with the hang glider shit. Just pop a power pellet, take off to the sky, and lose yourself in pure ecstasy. What's worse is this minecart sequence. You don't have to do this during Mission 2, but you have to do it at some point later because you need to get an item that will unlock the door to the final boss in Mission 4. This thing sucks. You gotta smack Pac-Man to get him to jump over ledges, and you have to use the call button to control your speed, making sure you're moving fast enough to cross large pits and dodging these ghosts with these weird piston things. It's so fucking awkward, and like the hang glider, no checkpoints. It's one and done. And what in God's name are these noises coming out of Pac-Man? It's like a drowning cat. Not that I know about the... Never mind. Mission 3. The ghosts have taken Pac Jr.'s guitar, a harsh but necessary lesson. Even when you try to befriend the enemy at a young age, you'll later learn that some people don't want to be your friend, they just want to be assholes. Anyway, you travel to the city, you head into the sewers below after trying to fix this damn fire hydrant like 4 separate times, and soon enough, secret underground laboratory. The fuck is this? Resident Evil? No, seriously, this is some straight up Umbrella shit. What are these things moving in these stasis tubes, and why is Pac-Man not bothered by any of this at all? The world of Pac-Man Beyond the Maze is somewhat terrifying, I have to say. But speaking of mazes, this is the point where you can head into the arcade and actually play some classic Pac-Man. Finally, something good to play. I love classic Pac-Man. I'm more of a fan of Miss Pac-Man personally. I played it so much on the Sega Genesis growing up as a kid. This is that good shit. And to my delight, Miss Pac-Man is a game you can unlock in this if you manage to find the 3 separate cartridge pieces hidden across the town. I don't get this one you find in the garbage can on the rooftops though. Check this. You can get Pac-Man to clearly look inside the thing, but until he actually kicks the damn can out of anger, he doesn't notice the cartridge inside. It's less like Pac-Man noticed it, instead kicking the can completed a bizarre summoning ritual. There we go, Miss Pac-Man, alright, but sadly it's not the Genesis version. I can still play it just fine, it's Pac-Man, but there's no boost button, and I love playing Pac-Man with the speed cranked up. This is just a little too slow for me, to the point where it's almost unbearable. I'd recommend just playing classic arcade Pac-Man with the speed modifier, or Miss Pac-Man on the Genesis, or you know what, Pac Jr. That's a game I got to play for the first time during the charity event, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's fast-paced Pac-Man action, and in the Genesis version of Pac-Man 2, this is what you supposedly unlock instead of Miss Pac-Man, but I went and looked it up out of curiosity, and it's just as slow as the other games in this. It's like a watered-down ROM hack. A damn shame. God, all I think about when I hear this game's music is that damn trailer FTCR did a few years ago when they were going to too many games. Hey though, shoutouts to my friend Steven, the dude's a great motion graphics animator. It is a very bumbling soundtrack that isn't too bad if I'm being honest. It's alright, it complements the television show aesthetic of the game, and you know what? The sprite quality on Pac-Man is good. Given how a lot of the game's enjoyment hinges on Pac-Man's emotional state of being, the detail on both his expressions and his interactions with numerous background elements is great. I'd say it's the best thing about the game. Anywho, that just leaves Mission 4, the final one. The evil witch has had enough of your shit and sends the ghost to terrorize the city and steal the children's ABC gum. That's fucking disgusting. They're doing the kids a favor, I think. Well, to stop her, you need to find these 3 ID cards to open the door to the final boss. To get the cards, you have to get them from ghost encounters, munching on them as Super Pac-Man. Now this is something you can technically start doing as early as the first mission, I want to say. So if you were explorative, intentionally or otherwise, and noticed those ghosts hanging out in boxes or trash cans and then you roided out then and there, you might already have the 3 ID cards in your person and this mission is over just as soon as it begins. Just make sure you're stocked up on power pellets before you go ghost hunting, because if you're short, Jesus Christ, it takes so long for Pac-Man to just faint from shock so that you can reset and try again. Come on. Faint faster. So you head back to the secret lab in the sewers, pop the cards in, and oh shit, an actual boss fight. The witch has taken that ABC gum and made it into The Cum Monster. You can't tell me that's a G, that shit's a C. It's the Cum Monster. Sentient purple jizz as the final boss, and it's so fucking annoying. You're in Super Pac-Man mode during the whole fight, preventing these ghosts from feeding the monster more purple baby batter. But if you want to win, you gotta keep smacking the thing with your slingshot, causing it to shrink until it's no more. But two things. The ghosts respawn awfully fast after munching on them, and they can easily undo all of your work in just a couple of seconds. And two, the monster can actually defeat Super Pac-Man. Just yanks him out of the sky and lays the smackdown. It's so frustrating because, as with everything else in the game, you're not in direct control of Pac-Man. You can only tell him to look a certain way, and when he goes to automatically eat the ghost, you just gotta pray he doesn't get caught by the arms. I think you're supposed to shoot the hands to stun them, but I swear it didn't do anything when I tried. The only thing that seemed to matter was direct headshots. Just a clumsy boss altogether that, after a bit, you manage to defeat the ghost, scatter away, the witch just leaves. The day is saved, I guess. What the fuck was this? Not something I could recommend, that's for sure. It's one of those you can watch a video walkthrough on, and the footage speaks for itself. It is a unique take on Pac-Man, and I guess there would be a euphoric sensation you can experience successfully guiding Pac-Man through the world with nothing but your slingshot and a shitload of antidepressants, but this is barely above the caliber of an edutainment title, something you probably played on the computer in your youth that you wouldn't go back to now because of the lack of substance. The attention to detail regarding the kind of things Pac-Man can get into gives the game merit, I won't deny that, but as a game altogether, Pac-Man 2 is not good at all. I'm glad I was able to satiate that morbid curiosity, but I also want those 2 hours back. So before I head off, I did want to address the poll that I left in the channel update video regarding the possibility of opening up a Patreon. Some of you were confused by the wording of the poll. Folks weren't sure if they were voting to show interest in supporting the Patreon directly, or voting for the idea of there even being a Patreon in the first place. That was my fault, I do apologize for that. But from what I can gather from that poll and comments on that video, you guys are okay with there being a Patreon in the first place, so we will definitely cross that bridge by year's end and talk about it more like then and there. So I appreciate the feedback. I want to try and get better with just responding to comments like on videos from now on. I've been meaning to work on that for such a long time, and it's about time I buckle down and just be better about that sort of thing. But just to reiterate, as I say in the description of every video, I'm also active on Twitter at Somecallmejohn, in case you're curious. I will see you guys for the next video. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask if you decide to go outside. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care.